This is the second part of the story. Previously in this story, one evening, Liam goes to pick up food from Kerr Street Cafe and unexpectedly discovers his wife Bella having an affair with his boss, Parker. Shocked and angry, Liam takes photos of them together and devises a plan for revenge. In the following days, Liam creates a website exposing Parker's affairs with multiple women, including Bella. He uses this as a pretext to confront Bella about her infidelity and resign from his job. The situation quickly escalates into a bitter divorce. During the divorce proceedings, Bella attempts to retaliate by informing authorities about Liam's side business, an online gambling website. However, due to the way Liam had structured the business, there are no grounds for legal action against him. After finalizing the divorce, Liam decides to leave town. He packs his belongings into a trailer and begins traveling, eventually stopping at a small town where he used to fish with his grandfather as a child. The town has declined over the years, with many abandoned properties and closed businesses. While staying in the town, Liam becomes intrigued by an old, abandoned house that once belonged to a local doctor. He explores the property and starts contemplating the possibility of settling down in this small town. If you missed the first part, please visit the main page of our channel and watch the previous video. Now, let's move on to the second part. After driving a short distance, Liam stopped at the familiar cafe to grab a bite. Barely stepping inside, he noticed Mary approaching with a smile. "What do you think of Dr. Thompson's old house?" she asked without preamble. Liam raised his eyebrows in surprise. "How did you find out?" Mary laughed. "Oh, Liam, I see that house from here as clear as day. I noticed you stopped there last week and again this morning before coming here. Honestly, half the town already knows you've been checking it out. So, what do you think?" Liam rubbed his chin thoughtfully. "I'm not sure. There's something about this place that attracts me, but it's evident that it will require a huge amount of work to make it livable. Just tidying up the yard alone will take a lot of time, not to mention repairing the house itself. Many rotten boards need to be replaced, and I can't even imagine the condition of the frame until I remove the cladding or interior panels. Probably, I'll have to completely redo the wiring and plumbing. I just don't know." "Yes, probably why no one else is making a bid," nodded Mary. "Plus, not many people want to live out here in the boonies. So, do you want another burger today or maybe something else?" "Burger and onion rings, please, Mary," Liam replied, grateful for the change of topic. While waiting for his order, Liam continued to steal glances towards the old house. He didn't even bother to turn on his laptop as usual. Throughout his meal, his thoughts were consumed by the house, and only with effort did he manage to get into the system and complete the small amount of work he had left. Soon, Liam finished his tasks, and instead of going to the grocery store for supplies, he returned to his camp. He spent most of the day at the computer, checking his finances, doing accounting, and programming changes for his website. His gaming portal had over 50,000 active users who spent an average of about $5 a week on purchasing virtual chips. Of course, some players were skilled or lucky enough to never buy extra chips, while others purchased them almost daily. If this trend had continued, the annual turnover of the site could have reached an impressive sum of $13 million. Depending on the year and equipment costs, Liam's profit usually ranged from 15 to 20% of the total amount. The night was restless, and Liam got up right after dawn. Sipping his morning coffee, he watched the sun rise above the trees, pondering his life and the day ahead. Almost unaware of his actions, he filled a large thermos with coffee, jumped into his truck, and headed towards the city. This time, Liam drove past the turn to the small town and continued on the highway towards Brighton Hills, the county's administrative center. Finding a parking spot, he leisurely made his way to the courthouse, arriving shortly before 9:30 in the morning. Ensuring the correctness of the venue for the upcoming tax and judicial sale, he stood waiting. Exactly at the appointed time, the sheriff and two men in business suits, accompanied by a tall, slender man dressed in worn Levi's jeans and a blue Western-style shirt, approached him. His outfit was completed with cowboy boots and a white Stetson hat. The newcomers glanced at the small group of people gathered nearby, after which the sheriff spoke. "Good morning, gentlemen. We are preparing to conduct an auction for the sale of several seized items, as well as a number of properties with tax arrears. If you are here to participate in the bidding, please come closer, and we will begin the procedure. 3 or 4 men stepped back, while the rest approached the officials. The auctioneer stepped forward with a microphone and handed a document to one of the men in suits. He read the paper, then detailed the property, its address, payment terms, and starting bid. Initially, items with seizures were auctioned and sold, after which most participants dispersed, leaving only Liam and 2 other potential buyers. Before starting the second part of the auction, dedicated to the sale of properties for tax delinquency, the rules of this procedure were announced. The first to go under the hammer were 2 farms, after which Liam noticed that 2 other bidders were preparing to leave. The men noticed Liam, and one of them asked, "Are you here for the tax sale, sir?" "Yes, that's correct," confirmed Liam. "All the land has already been sold, only a few old abandoned houses are left." "Are you interested in one of them?" asked the second man. "Yes, perhaps it's madness, but I'm interested in an old house in Mill Creek," Liam replied, mentioning the town's actual name. One of the men began sorting through the remaining documents, then inquired, "Which one exactly, sir?" "We have 3 properties in Mill Creek." Liam provided the address, and the man started searching for papers on Dr. Thompson's house. After reviewing them, he informed, the property taxes amount to a total of $1,575. This is a 9-year debt, plus the taxes for this year must be paid by December 31st. The minimum bid equals the tax debt, sir. Liam, without hesitation, stated $1,575. The men exchanged glances, and the auctioneer uttered the standard phrase, then struck the gavel and announced, "Sold for $1,575. Liam spent the rest of the day in town, dealing with property formalities and filling out all necessary documents. He signed deeds, registered ownership rights, and even changed his address to a permanent residence to update his mailing address and legal domicile. He registered to vote and even visited the power company to arrange for electricity connection. It was nearly 4 in the afternoon when Liam left the power company's office and headed back to Mill Creek. He parked near a familiar cafe and entered the cool dining hall. As soon as he sat down at a table, Mary approached him and greeted him. "What will you have for dinner tonight, Liam?" she asked with a smile. "I think I'll have one of your signature grilled steaks, mashed potatoes with gravy, and green beans, please," Liam replied, feeling he deserved a good meal after a busy day. "Coming right up. Where have you been all day? I didn't expect to see you for another couple of days, considering you were here yesterday," Mary inquired. "Yes, I spent the day in Brighton Hills and didn't feel like cooking when I returned to camp," explained Liam, not delving into details. Liam eagerly enjoyed his dinner as soon as Mary brought it, settled the bill, and headed back to camp. He parked, changed clothes, and plunged into the cool, refreshing river water for a post-lunch swim. After the invigorating swim, he gathered almost all his belongings that had been lying idle. Most of his belongings had already been packed as he had been absent all day. Then Liam sat on a folding chair and watched as the sun slowly descended behind the horizon, pondering the unexpected turn his life had taken. With the first rays of the sun, Liam rose as if at the snap of an alarm clock. After a hasty snack and a cup of morning coffee, he began the final stage of preparations. There was precision and clarity in his movements. Soon the trailer was securely attached to the truck, and Liam, casting a final glance at the place that had become his temporary refuge, set off on the road to his new home. The journey to Mill Creek seemed shorter than usual to him, as if the town itself was eager to welcome him into its embrace. Approaching Dr. Thompson's old house, Liam felt his heart beat faster. Now it was his home, his fortress, his new beginning. Without delay, he set to work, as if trying to make up for years of neglect in one go. Hour after hour, Liam cleared the driveway of overgrown shrubs and undergrowth. His efforts did not go unnoticed. Locals would stop by from time to time to greet him or offer help. By evening, Liam surveyed the results of his work with a sense of duty fulfilled. The driveway was cleared, and there was now enough space for parking the truck and trailer. With satisfaction, he unhitched the trailer and positioned it in the chosen spot. Exhausted but content, Liam decided to freshen up. He headed to the stream at the edge of his property, where he found the perfect bathing spot, a chest-deep hole. Without hesitation, he immersed himself in the cool water, feeling the fatigue recede. Emerging from the water, Liam quickly changed into dry clothes and, driven by hunger and a desire to socialize, headed to the cafe that had become familiar. As he entered, the place was already bustling. Patrons sat at a dozen or so tables, enjoying dinner or waiting for their orders. Liam took his usual seat by the window and smiled as Mary approached him with a glass of water. Placing the water on the table, she looked at him curiously and said, "Well, you will definitely be the talk of the town now. I can't believe you bought that old house. Isn't it in a rather sorry state?" "It's seen better days," Liam replied with a smirk, "but I believe it has good bones. I'll have to splurge on repairs, but once it's done, I'll have a great place. Though, a little help wouldn't hurt. You don't know anyone who could help me with sorting out the house and cleaning the yard?" "Maybe," Mary said thoughtfully. "Have you looked at the bulletin board? Sometimes there's something suitable there. Have you already moved your trailer to that plot? Will you be working there now?" "Yes, I'll be there or here, I suppose, for quite a while," Liam nodded. "I plan to do as much work as possible myself." It took Liam almost 2 hours to eat and leave the cafe. It seemed like every visitor felt it was their duty to come to his table and discuss the old house. He even got a few leads on people who could help him with the repairs. Liam wasn't rushing with the house repairs, understanding that it was a marathon, not a sprint. Money wasn't the main issue, but he preferred to act cautiously. His main income was in accounts in the Cayman Islands, and officially he only received a modest salary as an employee of his company. This scheme allowed him to avoid paying US taxes on large sums left abroad. If he used business money to pay for repairs, he would have to pay tax on those amounts. One morning, as Liam sat under his favorite tree, taking a break from his righteous labors, 2 young women entered the yard and cheerfully greeted him. Seeing them, Liam almost choked on his coffee. Both were tall for women and attractive, like pictures from a fashion magazine. He had seen both of them in town, the blonde who sometimes worked at the cafe, and her Latina friend, with whom they often sat in the cafe, chatting and laughing. But he didn't know their names. The girls seemed to barely contain their overflowing energy. The blonde smiled and said, "Hi, Liam. We've been watching you work, and Mom said you mentioned hiring assistants, but we haven't seen anyone helping you. We both work at the cafe for Mom, but we don't earn much money. Eva and I were thinking, would you hire us as assistants?" "So you're Mary's daughters?" Liam was surprised. "I've seen both of you in town, but I didn't know about your relationship." The girls giggled, and the blonde replied, "Yep, I'm Emily. Well, actually Amelia, but everyone calls me Emily, and this is Eva. We're like sisters and do everything together." Liam looked at the 2 very different girls and asked in confusion, "Sisters?" Emily laughed and explained, "Well, we have different parents, but we were born on the same day, just 20 minutes apart, in the same hospital. That's why we call ourselves sisters. We've been best friends since diapers." "I was thinking about hiring some assistants," Liam confessed, "but I haven't made a final decision yet. There are a few tasks that would be easier to accomplish with some help, but I don't have a lot of extra funds, so I've been putting off this issue for now. I'm not in a rush to finish the renovation, so I'm letting things unfold naturally. The main thing is to move in before the cold sets in this autumn." The girls exchanged glances, and Eva said, "Any help we can offer would be greatly appreciated. We both start college this fall, and we need to earn as much money as possible. We don't know much about construction, but we learn quickly and are willing to do any work if you show us what to do." "Well, maybe I can help you with something," Liam said thoughtfully. "I remember what it's like to be a poor college student. What year are you in? What's your major?" Emily replied, "We're starting our 2nd year. I want to become a primary school teacher, and Eva plans to study computer technologies." They chatted for a few more minutes before Emily said, "We should go. We promised Mom we'd help out at the cafe today. See you later, Liam." Liam watched as the 2 beauties walked down the street and entered the cafe. He observed them until they disappeared from view, then stood up and returned to his work, feeling a surge of new energy and enthusiasm. These days, he was busy replacing windows in the house, installing modern triple-pane plastic windows instead of old wooden frames with single glazing. Each window opening had to be adjusted to fit standard-sized windows to avoid the expense of ordering custom sizes. It required much more effort but saved a significant amount of money. Shortly before noon, Liam decided to take a break and headed to the cafe for lunch. This time, as he walked in and made his way to his usual table, Emily and Eva jumped up to greet him, smiling warmly. Mary, who was already heading towards his table, saw the girls approach him, smiled, and returned to the kitchen where the girls had just come from. "Hi, Liam," Eva said. "What can we offer you today?" "I think I wouldn't mind a serving of chicken enchiladas and iced tea, please," Liam replied, feeling his stomach growl at the mere thought of food. Emily exclaimed joyfully, "Great choice. I'll bring them right over. You'll love it." Eva and her mom made them, and they taste simply divine. After finishing his meal, Liam walked up to the counter to pay. He smiled when Mary greeted him. "I can't say it's the first time, but these two definitely went out of their way today. Usually, I have to ask them to wait tables if I'm busy in the kitchen with Mom Eva. I've seen them here before, but today was the first time I met and talked to them," Liam replied. "They came and asked me for a job. They said you sent them." "What?" Mary looked surprised. "Are you kidding?" "No, I didn't suggest they ask you for a job. I just mentioned that you were talking about hiring someone part-time to help with the heavier work. I can't believe they volunteered to help with the repairs. I won't say they're lazy, they're not, but they are very selective about the work they'll do. They help out here from time to time, but always complain about it. I can't believe they want to do the heavy work they'll have to do if you hire them." "So, you don't recommend them?" asked Liam, slightly concerned. "No, that's not what I meant," Mary hastily replied. "If you give them a job, they'll do their best to do it right, and for their pay, they'll give you an honest day's work. I'm just surprised they volunteered to do such work themselves and asked you about it." "Oh, I didn't mention hiring them," Liam explained. "I try to do as much as I can myself to save money, but I'll really need help soon." "Do you think they're strong enough for heavy work? Do they know anything about construction at all?" "Emily isn't very knowledgeable about it," Mary admitted, "but Eva's father is a contractor, and she used to go to construction sites with him when she was younger. I think she knows quite a bit. So, how was dinner? You surprised me by not getting your usual hamburger tonight." Liam laughed and said, "It was really delicious. I still love your hamburgers, but I wanted to try something different, and I really enjoy good Tex-Mex cuisine. It would be perfect with some chips and salsa." "We discussed that," Mary replied, "but we would have to charge a little more, and we couldn't just bring them in advance like they do in Mexican restaurants. You know, every penny counts in a small town." "I understand," Liam nodded. "What about a good pizza?" "Honestly, I don't feel like dragging myself to the district center when I feel like grabbing a bite of something like that," Mary chuckled, mischievous sparks dancing in her eyes. "Oh, Liam, you're such a gourmet. What's next? A sushi bar in our neck of the woods? You do realize that in such a tiny establishment, you can't have too extensive a menu. Maybe you want to get behind the stove yourself and cover all these additional expenses?" Liam raised his hands in playful surrender. All right, I give up. I was just thinking out loud. You know what they say, dreaming doesn't hurt." Mary smiled, and Liam stood up, preparing to leave. She escorted him to the cashier and accepted the payment. Then they went their separate ways, each immersed in their own thoughts. The next morning, Liam had barely started working when Emily and Eva appeared on the horizon, dressed just like the day before. "Hey, Liam!" exclaimed Eva enthusiastically. "What are we doing today?" Liam frowned, not expecting their arrival. "Well, I was planning to finish repairing the cladding so we can start painting in the coming days." "Why are you here so early?" Emily looked slightly embarrassed, but determination shone in her eyes. "We're ready to tackle any job. Just tell us what needs to be done." Liam found himself in a difficult position. The girls seemed to think he had already hired them or was planning to do so. He paused for a moment, unsure how to react. "Listen," he began cautiously, "if you really want to help, I could use an extra pair of hands. But you don't need to dress for anything too dirty or heavy. Liam surveyed the worksite, considering what the girls could do. Suddenly, an idea struck him. He had been working on the back of the house, replacing damaged cladding and old boards. But the rest of the house was ready for painting. He had scraped off the old paint that had peeled and sanded the edges, leaving only the task of applying a new coat. "Here's what I propose," he said, making a decision. "I'm still working on the back of the house, but if you want to paint the exterior walls, it would be a great help. The paint is on the porch, and as you can see, I've already set up scaffolding on the side to start from the top." The girls' faces lit up with joyful smiles. Emily exclaimed, "Great! Let's get to it, Eva." They turned around and hurried to the house, ready to take on the new task. Days passed, and Liam never knew for sure if the girls would come and how long they would stay. Sometimes, when one or both of them were absent, he would find them working in the cafe when he went there for lunch. Of course, Liam himself did not always work on the house. Occasionally, he had to pay attention to his website. Sometimes he even had small programming orders that distracted him from the restoration work. He preferred to do this in the cafe, as the unfinished house did not have internet connection yet, and he was still living in a trailer on the plot. By the end of the first week of working with Liam, the girls had finished painting one side and the facade of the house. They applied 2 coats of paint, and the result looked impressive. During this time, Emily and Eva became more relaxed in their communication with Liam, and he sometimes felt that they were intentionally teasing him with their charms. There were suspiciously many "oops, didn't mean to" moments when he could see their cleavage, especially when they wore loose blouses. And several times, one or the other would wear a damn short mini skirt to climb the stairs and paint the upper parts of the walls. On Friday, concluding their first full work week, Liam called the girls to the backyard. There, under the sprawling tree that he jokingly called his beer oak, they usually rested and chatted. Liam, as best as he could, kept track of their working hours and arbitrarily set an hourly rate, as none of them had discussed payment. When the girls approached and sat down next to him at his invitation, he handed each of them an envelope with cash and said, "This is your salary for the past 1.5 weeks. Since we never discussed payment, I asked around and determined a rate for the work you do. I hope this is enough." To his surprise, neither of the girls even glanced at the money or counted it. Each simply tucked the envelope into the pocket of their tight shorts they were wearing that day. They had to stand up to do this, and as soon as the money was in their pockets, they both jumped up to Liam. Leaning in, each gave him a light kiss on the cheek, causing him to catch his breath. Eva said, "Thank you, Liam. I'm sure the payment is more than fair, but you didn't have to do this. We never asked for a salary, we just wanted to help you. It's been so boring here since most of our friends left town, and it's currently vacation time at college." She fell silent for a moment, then added with a mischievous smile, "Besides, we like being around you. Why don't we come tomorrow and just hang out instead of working?" Liam, still a bit stunned by their reaction, replied, "Well, of course, I was planning to do some things around the house, but you, of course, are not obligated to work." "No, you don't understand," Emily interrupted him. "We mean, could you also not work and allow us to just spend time together? Maybe have a bit of fun?" Liam paused for a moment, weighing the pros and cons. "Sure, why not?" he finally answered. "I don't have any strict deadlines. We're almost done with the exterior finishing, and it can be completed before the cold sets in. That was my main plan for the summer. I want to do a couple of rooms inside to move in before the frost comes. I'm sure I can get it done, so taking a day off will be beneficial." Both girls smiled and hugged him tightly before sitting back down. They each drank a couple of cans of beer, enjoying the warm evening and casual conversation. As the sun began to dip towards the horizon, the girls prepared to head home. They needed to freshen up and go help Mary at the cafe with the Friday evening crowd. The morning of the next day found Liam with a cup of coffee on the porch of his new old house. He sat, lost in his thoughts, when familiar silhouettes appeared on the horizon. Emily and Eva were approaching the house, each carrying a bulky thermos bag in one hand and a package resembling groceries in the other. They moved with the grace of young deer, seemingly not feeling the weight of their load. Before Liam could even blink, the girls were next to him, dropped their belongings, and leaning in, showered him with kisses. Startled, he almost choked on his coffee. Emily, noticing his confusion, asked with a hint of concern in her voice, "Did you not like it?" "Sorry if we crossed a line." Eva also looked worried, and Liam hurried to dispel their doubts. No, not at all. Just caught me off guard. What normal bachelor wouldn't be happy with a kiss from two beautiful girls? I just didn't expect such a warm welcome." His words seemed to reassure the girls, and Liam, regaining his composure, inquired, "What did you bring?" "I thought we were just going to hang out, relax, maybe chat." "Don't worry," replied Eva with a mischievous smile. "We just brought some drinks and hot dogs. We know how much you love Mom's burgers at the cafe, so we decided to have a little picnic." "You don't mind, do you?" "Of course not," Liam answered, feeling curiosity wash over him. "What have you planned for today?" "Since it's your party," asked Eva. "Oh, nothing special," replied Emily, exchanging a meaningful glance with Eva. "As we discussed, just relax, have a few drinks, maybe take a swim, and grill some burgers and hot dogs." Before Liam could say a word, Emily grabbed his hand and tried to pull him out of the chair. "Let's go," she said, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. "Let's go for a swim. It's too hot to just sit around and sip coffee." Liam allowed himself to be pulled to his feet and followed the giggling girls along the path leading from the yard to a deep pool at the back of his property. It was only about 50 meters away, and he could already hear people splashing and chatting loudly, frolicking in the stream. He slowed down slightly and said, Wait. Let me at least grab my swim trunks." "Oh, come on," waved off Eva. "Those old shorts look great on you. Besides, we don't want to wait. We're hot." "Yes, I see," mumbled Liam to himself, involuntarily noting how the girls' form-fitting tops accentuated their figures. Hearing his muttering, Emily turned with a mischievous smile. "What did you say? Do you think we're hot stuff?" "Yes, but I'm sorry you heard that." "I shouldn't have said that," Liam blushed. "Oh, come on, you should have," Emily laughed. "All women want to know that their men find them beautiful. Especially if they sincerely mean it. That's what you meant, right?" Eva playfully nudged Emily with her elbow and whispered, "Shut up, silly. You're embarrassing him." Liam was surprised by the girl's words but decided that he had probably misunderstood them. He let them lead him to the stream, where they joined the other sunbathers. Soon they were swimming and splashing in the water, enjoying the coolness on a hot summer day. After a few minutes, Emily disappeared and quickly returned, carrying 3 bottles of beer and swimming noodles in the water. She handed a bottle to Liam and Eva each, then settled on her noodle and began sipping her beer, relaxing and chatting with everyone around. Liam soon joined in the conversation and began to get to know the other people in the water. To his surprise, he found that he liked it. The atmosphere was relaxed and friendly, as if everyone here were old friends. Emily or Eva would occasionally go ashore for more beer, and at noon, they brought sandwiches. Time flew by unnoticed, and as the sun began to dip towards the horizon, Emily announced, "All right, guys, it's time for dinner. Let's go, light up the grill." By that time, all 3 of them felt a pleasant intoxication and found everything that was happening extremely amusing. Most of their new acquaintances had already dispersed to their homes, and those who stayed were either preparing or eating their evening meal by the shore. Eva, giggling, looked at Liam and said, "You can't even walk straight. How are you going to handle the grill, Liam? You need to cook the hamburgers. We'll fry them, and then we'll have fun." Emily poured Liam another beer into his hand while Eva lit the nearby gas grill. As soon as it heated up, the girls began to take out provisions from the refrigerators and bags they had brought earlier. They quickly arranged the food and paper plates on a small folding table, then each took a glass of beer and sat down next to Liam while the grill was heating up. When Emily decided the grill was hot enough, she said, "Liam, I think the grill is ready, and you can cook the burgers and sausages, and we'll prepare the buns for the meat." She and Eva chuckled, heading to the table to attend to their part of the work. Soon they were enjoying juicy burgers, crispy chips, and excellent barbecue skewers that Emily brought from her mom's cafe. After the meal, They quickly cleaned up and headed back to the stream for a late evening swim. By the time they returned to the water, everyone else had already dispersed to their homes. Refreshed in the cool water, all three of them returned to Liam's house yard. To his surprise, the girls gently nudged him towards the tent and laid him on the camp bed. "Girls, what's going on here? Why are you doing this?" asked Liam, feeling his heart start to beat faster. They both sat up to look him in the eyes, and Emily said, "We've seen how you've been watching us at the cafe almost from the first day you started coming there. You've never been rude or unpleasant, like most guys we've met, and Mom really likes you. None of us found anyone in the neighborhood or at college that we liked enough to date more than once or twice. You're the exception. We've spent the whole summer with you, and you've never treated us badly. We wanted to date you and see if something could work between us, but you never asked, so we decided to take matters into our own hands." "Well, I guess I can understand that," Liam slowly uttered, trying to gather his thoughts. "You know how deeply my ex-wife hurt me, and I was afraid to open up to someone again, plus you're almost 5 years younger than me. I didn't think you would be interested, even if I asked." "Well, you are mistaken," Eve said softly. "We were and are very interested. Listen, I don't know what to say. We really like you, and we love being around you. I can't even imagine choosing one of us." The girl smiled and hugged him before Emily said, "Okay, we don't want you to choose. Like we said, we are like sisters. We do everything together and don't want you to choose. You're stuck with both of us, Liam." Soon the girls noticed that Liam wasn't responding to them and looked relaxed. They looked up and saw Liam peacefully asleep. Emily shook her head incredulously. "God, I can't believe he just fell asleep on us. Are we really that boring?" Eve laughed and replied, "Or maybe we gave him too much beer. Of course, he has been working hard too." "Yes, but damn, what are we going to do now?" sighed Emily. "Sleep?" Eve suggested with a slight smile. Soon all three young people were fast asleep, and none of them woke up until early morning. Liam woke up first, his head pounding from a hangover. He carefully got out of the tent, trying not to wake the girls, and set up the coffee pot, hoping caffeine would help him recover. Before he could even drink half of the first cup, both girls emerged from his tent. They didn't even speak to him as they hurried into the house to use the bathroom. Soon they returned and poured themselves a cup of coffee before sitting down and staring at Liam, sipping the invigorating drink. After they finished their cups, exchanging only a few words, Liam looked at the girls and said, "You two are definitely dangerous. Now I'm going to go to the cafe and have breakfast. Are you coming?" They exchanged glances before Eve replied, "Yes, but I'm not sure I can eat much." The three young people, as if in a daze, slowly made their way to the cafe, each step being a struggle. The morning sun seemed too bright, and the sounds of the city were too loud. When they crossed the threshold of the establishment, Mary looked at them with a mix of understanding and amusement in her eyes. "I heard you had a great time yesterday," she said, unable to hide her smile. "I hope you've learned the lesson that excessive alcohol consumption doesn't lead to anything good." Liam, feeling the color flood his face, tried to maintain some dignity. "Mary, I am outraged by such assumptions. Contrary to rumors and someone's fantasies, I remain pure and spotless as the first snow. They tried to seduce me with a devilish potion, but my moral principles remained unshaken." Emily, upon hearing this tirade, blushed and lightly nudged Liam in the shoulder. "Hey, that's my mom. You don't have to tell her such details. Besides, you didn't resist much when we put you to sleep." Most of the men at the neighboring tables couldn't hold back their chuckles, and Mary, shaking her head, replied, "Oh, girls, you didn't get into a fight, did you? Well, let's move on. What will you be ordering, Liam?" Liam placed his order, and Mary headed towards the kitchen. Emily called out to her, "Mom, what about us? If you want something, come with me and make it yourselves," Mary threw over her shoulder. "You're not paying customers." Emily and Eva exchanged glances, then reluctantly got up and followed Mary to the kitchen. Muffled voices could be heard behind the closed door, interspersed with typical kitchen sounds. While the food was being prepared, Liam became the target of good-natured teasing from the cafe regulars. Some even tried to give him a few pieces of advice regarding girls, although their recommendations sounded more like warnings. Soon, Emily and Eva emerged from the kitchen with plates of food, which they carefully placed on the table before sitting down themselves to start breakfast. Silence reigned at the table, interrupted only by the clinking of cutlery. All three were trying to recover after a hectic day. Liam finished his meal a little earlier than the girls and sat, waiting for them to finish eating. When they were done, he stood up and said, "I need to go home and rest for a bit. See you later, girls." Then he headed to the counter. Mary met Liam at the counter and took the payment. As soon as he stepped outside, Emily and Eva joined him, standing on either side and hugging him around the waist. He looked at each of the girls but said nothing. Instead, he hugged them back and they slowly walked to his house. At home, Liam almost instantly fell asleep, barely noticing that both girls followed suit, settling on either side of him. They slept almost until noon, until their natural needs prompted them to take turns visiting the bathroom. Then they sat on the porch, sipping cold tea. Liam broke the silence. "Girls, were you just fooling around yesterday, or should I take some of the things you said seriously?" Emily looked thoughtfully at him. "Which things exactly?" "Honestly, I don't remember our conversation very well. I remember that we laughed a lot and acted silly, but the specific words are like in a fog." "Well, both of you said that you wanted to be with me," Liam explained, feeling a bit awkward. "Oh, that," Emily nodded. "Yes, but you already knew that, didn't you?" "Not entirely," Liam admitted. "I mean, I noticed that you both flirted with me, and I tried to decide whom to ask out, but nothing more." "Liam," Eva interjected, "I think we told you that it doesn't work that way. We both love you very much, and we are not competing with each other. Neither of us has found anyone else we like as much, and we love each other like sisters. We both want to be with you, and we don't want to hurt each other, so we agreed to share you." "Is that a problem?" "Well, yes, no, darn, I don't know," Liam hesitated. "I really like both of you, but what about your parents and everyone else in town?" Eva shrugged. "What about them? It's not their business. We know we can't marry you, but if we get along, nothing stops us from living together." Days passed, and the girls became an integral part of Liam's life. They continued to help him with house repairs, but now their involvement became more active. Emily and Eva started expressing their ideas about color schemes, decor, and even interior layouts. The first room they completely renovated was the kitchen. Liam was surprised to find himself listening more and more to the girls' opinions and bringing their ideas to life. After the kitchen, they tackled the master bedroom with a spacious bathroom, created by combining the former living room and the butler's pantry. Next on the list were the living room and dining room. The last to transform was a small room that Dr. Thompson once used as his office. They converted it into a nursery, thinking about the future. By Thanksgiving, the lower floor was completely renovated. On this holiday, Liam's house hosted its first family dinner. Throughout the winter, they started working on the upper floor, where they planned to set up 2 spacious bedrooms, separated by a small playroom and a shared bathroom. Thanksgiving, one of the few days when Mary's Cafe was closed, brought Liam's extended family under one roof. Emily and Eva's parents came along with the girls' brothers, and Liam's parents also arrived. The house was full of guests, and the atmosphere was festive, albeit a bit tense. Most of the relatives struggled to understand how to feel about Liam's unusual relationships with 2 women. However, contrary to expectations, the residents of the small town fairly quickly accepted their unconventional lifestyle. Gradually, people began to perceive the situation as something quite ordinary. Liam and his girlfriends were happy and successful, which probably contributed to such acceptance. Time passed, and now Emily and Eva had graduated from college. Emily, as planned, became a teacher at the local school. Eva, on the other hand, started working with Liam, focusing on programming games and applications for mobile phones. While Liam, Emily, and Eva's lives flowed steadily, like the waters of their favorite stream on a hot summer day, there was a sense of impending change in the air. It was elusive, like the scent of the first spring flowers, but no less real for it. Liam, immersed in working on his online project, didn't notice the clouds gathering around him. His online gambling site was thriving, bringing in a stable income that allowed the three of them to live without want. However, as it is known, success breeds not only friends but also envy. On a typical day, when the golden rays of the autumn sun painted the maple leaves in shades of crimson and ochre, a letter arrived at their home. At first glance, an unremarkable envelope concealed a threat capable of shattering their little paradise. Eva, picking up the mail, casually tossed the letter on the table in the hallway, where it lay until evening. Liam, returning from another walk around the neighborhood, mechanically opened the envelope and began to read. With each line, his face grew darker, like the sky before a storm. "What's wrong, dear?" Emily asked, noticing his state. She had just returned from the school where she taught, and her usually bright and cheerful voice sounded concerned now. Liam looked up from the letter, and his eyes revealed worry. "We have a problem. It seems someone has decided to target my business." Hearing their conversation, Eva descended from her office on the second floor. "What are you talking about, Liam? What problems?" Liam took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts. "Remember my online gambling site? The one I created before we met?" The girls nodded. "Well, I received a notification from the Gambling Commission. They believe my activities are illegal and threaten legal action if I don't shut down the site within 30 days. Emily and Eva exchanged glances, their faces showing a mix of surprise and concern. "But didn't you say that your website was legal?" asked Emily. "I was sure of that," Liam replied, running his hand through his hair, a gesture that always gave away his excitement. "Players don't receive real money, only virtual chips. I thought this put me outside the jurisdiction of gambling laws. And now what?" Eva sat down next to him. Liam shook his head. "I don't know. I need to consult with a lawyer. But if I have to shut down the site, honestly, I can't imagine how we'll live on. It's our main source of income." Emily sat on the other side of Liam. "We'll figure something out," she said firmly. Over the next few days, Liam consulted with lawyers, studied laws, and tried to find loopholes. Emily and Eva supported him as best they could, but the atmosphere in the house became tense, like a taut string. One evening, as they sat on the veranda watching the sun set behind the horizon, Liam suddenly said, "You know, maybe this is a sign." "A sign of what?" Eva asked, looking up from her laptop where she was browsing forums for information on similar cases. "A sign that it's time to move on," Liam replied thoughtfully. "I created this site during a dark period of my life, when I was angry at the world after the divorce. Maybe it's time to leave it in the past and start something new." Emily set aside the book she was reading and looked closely at Liam. "Are you sure? This is your brainchild." "Yes, but now I have you," Liam smiled, embracing both girls. "And this house and this life we've built together. Maybe it's time to focus on something more constructive?" Eva nodded thoughtfully. "You know, you're right. We could create something new, something useful for people. I have a few ideas for educational apps." And so, sitting on the veranda of the house they had restored with their own hands, the trio began to make plans for the future. In the following weeks, following the lawyer's advice, Liam gradually began to wind down the operations of his website, while simultaneously working on a new project with Eva. Inspired by the idea of educational apps, Emily started developing educational materials that could form the basis of their project. Their home was once again filled with the energy of creation, like in the days when they had just started renovating it. In the evenings, they sat in the kitchen, discussing ideas, sketching plans, debating, and laughing. The table was cluttered with sketches, sheets of code, and educational notes. One morning, Liam woke up with a feeling that something had changed. He carefully got out of bed, trying not to wake up Emily and Eva, and went down to the kitchen. While brewing coffee, he suddenly realized that he felt very light, lighter than he had felt in the past few years. The burden he had been carrying since creating the online gambling site seemed to have lifted off his shoulders. Liam stepped out onto the veranda and took a deep breath of the fresh morning air. "Good morning," Eva's sleepy voice came from behind him. "You're up early." Liam turned around with a smile. "Good morning. I just feel like today is a good day for a new beginning." Eva approached and hugged him, resting her head on his shoulder. "You know, I feel that too. Soon Emily joined them, and the three of them stood on the veranda, welcoming the new day and a new chapter in their lives. The old house of Dr. Thompson, a witness to their love and efforts, stood behind them like a silent guardian of their past and future. Its walls, holding the warmth of their hands and echoes of their laughter, seemed to whisper, "Everything will be fine." And they believed in this whisper because they knew, as long as they were together, they were home. And home is not just walls and a roof, it's a place where love resides. And in their home of love,